248-539-9797. Jason on a cellular on 97 on the ticket. Hi, Jason.
Hey, afternoon, fellas.
What's up?
Hey, getting back to your comments earlier about Bryn Forbes and carving out a career in the NBA, that was completely unexpected. And as a Spartan fan, I'm sure I didn't expect it. But I'm going kind of old school here as far as, another athlete that you did not expect to have any type of career in the pros. I go back to Jim Miller, who was the quarterback shortly after I graduated. And I looked at this guy in the program, like, oh, my gosh, this guy's kind of got a dough face here and didn't strike me as an imposing, quarterback. But by golly, somehow he got to the pros and started for the Bears, and now he has a career as an analyst for the NFL Network, if I could recall correctly. Well, I thought the only career he's going to have in football was carrying them at Dick's Sporting Goods, so that'd be my choice.
Yeah, Jim Miller, surprisingly enough, had a winning record as a quarterback, a starting quarterback in the league. He was 15-12, including 11-2 in 2001, which was his second to last year actually playing. He did earn a Super Bowl ring, I believe, as a backup to the backup to Tom Brady in New England, but he never saw any action during the course of the season there.
I wouldn't have expected him to play in the NFL.
No, and he had some big games. I remember one game he had with the Bears or Pittsburgh, one of those two teams. He had just a monster game, well over 300 yards passing, and looked like he deserved an opportunity. And he got a little bit of a chance with the Bears. Started 13 out of 14 games in 2001. As I said, was 11-2. Then the next year, started 8 games, went 2-6, and that was it.
But we're doing this because Bryn Forbes last night started for San Antonio at LCA, and I don't think many people would have picked that. But he started all year, and he's averaging 14 points a game. And they're guys. We got a bunch of texts that have come in. Luke Glendenning, it was average at Michigan, went from Toledo to Grand Rapids to the Wings in about a year or two. Next one, mine is Le'Veon Bell. Next one, Tim Hardaway Jr. Never thought he was anything special in Michigan, but he turned out to be a decent pro. It's from Nick in Pontiac. From Mark and Novi, guys, my answer is Jamal Crawford, 18 years in the NBA, more than $119 million. Wow.
Has he been there that long?
I know. Every time I turn around.
Is he Michigan's version of Kevin Willis? This guy who's been in the league forever?
Maybe. Kevin Willis was in the league forever.
Forever. Are we convinced he's not on the roster now?
He might be. Let's go to Andy, who's next up. Hi, Andy.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Hey, I just want to talk about that game last night. I picked Alabama. I think just because a lot of people did. I didn't in no way expect them to get blown out the way they did. But, I agree with you guys. For people to already be calling for Saban's head, I think obviously they haven't watched what he's done with that program. I mean, it's a machine. I mean, I was watching the game last night with my 14-year-old boy, and right when the game started, I actually told my son, I said, watch, Alabama on this drive, they're going to roll right through Clemson, and then they threw that pick six. And my son even kind of looked at me and said, are you sure about that? I'm like, okay, maybe I misjudged it, but no, Nick Saban's done all with that program. And then real quick, just one other point, and I'll cut myself off. You guys brought this up earlier about maybe it was a bad place in Santa Clara for that. I grew up in the Bay Area, and, the stadium the Niners used to play in was in Candlestick, which was right in San Francisco, and you got Santa Clara so far south. So, I mean, yeah, it's true, the placement of the stadium, it's almost like if you're in San Francisco, you're not going to have a lot to do, and they're not going to place that in a category of like top 5 things, which I disagree with because it is, but that's just the way I think the demographics were. So that's it. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
No, thank you for the phone call. Look, it's so easy to sit back and be a critic of absolutely everything, right? And clearly this is a state-of-the-art stadium that, when you build a state-of-the-art stadium, guess what you're getting? You're getting a Super Bowl. And in this particular instance, they've had a Super Bowl, and now they've got the college championship game, and people were citing the secondary market for tickets as, reason why this was a bad place. And the
Red Box Bowl.
And the Red Box Bowl. And the more I talked about it or thought about it, I was like, wait a sec. The NCAA doesn't care what the secondary market price is. If they have a financial package and the people that go there and the corporate sponsors and everybody enjoys it, that's probably the most important thing to them. Now, does it host the way in Atlanta would, the way Indianapolis, I'm excited for this. The Big Ten area gets to host a national championship game in a few years. It'll feel more natural, more embraced, more a part of the community than it did in an office park in Santa Clara, California.
Yes, the difference, though, outdoor stadium, indoor stadium, and some people don't like the indoor stadium thing. And yet we'll continue to have Super Bowls and national championship games played in Atlanta, in New Orleans, and Dallas. So,
yeah, those places will keep hosting, and I'm sure Indy will do fine. You and I have been to Indy for a number of big events, and Indianapolis is an awesome town for hosting sporting.
It's a great city, and the way that they turn that whole downtown area into whatever it is for that atmosphere, it's amazing and great place. And look, we've had it here in Detroit. I think Detroit should get an opportunity to host a national championship game. Why not? Ford Field's beautiful. And the way that downtown is being transformed and will continue to be transformed, I think they should be in the running for it within the next 10 years.
They bid for it. They've tried. Let's get back to your open line calls. Brian in Detroit is next. Hello, Brian.
Hey, fellas. You know what's funny about after the game yesterday? Now they saying the Clemson quarterback, the best quarterback in college.
Yep.
Nobody said that before the game yesterday. The only thing that happened was Clemson won, and those receivers made that quarterback look good because a few of those throws was off, and that one receiver just outstanding. That's what made that quarterback look so good. Yes, he's going to be the first pick whenever he come out. But nobody said
hold on, Brian, hold on. First of all, the receiver was outstanding. The freshman who made it was one series where he made like 3 amazing catches.
Justin Ross.
But the rest of the game, Trevor Lawrence was pretty spot on. He was great. The question going into the game about Trevor Lawrence and why people were all touting Tua was because Trevor Lawrence hadn't faced a defense like Alabama yet, and people weren't ready to pass the mantle on to him because they didn't think he was going to live up to it. And then what happened? He lived up to it.
Alabama defense was garbage yesterday. They didn't get a rush on. They was garbage yesterday. Nick, that was a horrible coach game. Everybody in the state knew that sneak play was.
But they weren't horrible going into it. I mean, Alabama was formidable. Alabama was intimidating. Alabama was biggest and best in the country going into the game.
They were against everybody else but Clemson. Man, they 2-2 the last 4 championships against each other. So Clemson, Clemson defensive line, man, they got 4 pros. That's why Alabama it was horrible in the red zone. What I'm saying is, fellas, this quarterback, yes, he's going to be great. But nobody talked about he was the best quarterback in college after this game. So let's just calm down on being in the moment.
Right, but I think the reason that people didn't want to give him that kind of praise just yet is because he hadn't faced anybody. He had a game against, he played part of the game against A&M, and then he had the semifinal game against Notre Dame. Outside of that, Clemson's schedule wasn't exactly impressive. So he hadn't. You don't want to give him that until you see him against future professionals, which is what Alabama's got. You talk about Clemson, they got 4 pros in their defensive line. So does Alabama.
Alabama defensive line ain't good as Clemson line.
No, they're not, but I'm not going to penalize them for that. Alabama still has a damn good defensive line.
Fellas, this is what I'm saying. Let's wait more than one game before we claim he's the best quarterback.
I'm more with you than against you, Brian. I am more with you than against you. I think he's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But it was less than 24 hours ago. Tank for Tua has been replaced by Tank for Trevor, and I think it's kind of funny.
Well, there's two reasons why I made the switch. First reason is Tua's already suffered some injuries, and Lawrence has been pretty healthy. The second is size. 6'6" and athletic and mobile in the pros works. Nothing against Tua, because Tua's mobile, but not as big. You have the size advantage to Trevor Lawrence. And so far, the health advantage to Trevor Lawrence.
All right, we got sidetracked here a little bit. Kang, you just tweeted out, Lions, please draft this guy. And who is it and why?
Defensive tackle Christian Wilkins from Clemson. He is a game changer. I think Gator's on board with this too. The guy is mobile. He can play outside if needed to be. He's definitely an inside guy. Quickness is, for his size, it's underestimated, I think, understated. He can be a game changer, an Aaron Donald type game changer. He's bigger than Aaron Donald, so he's closer. If you look at what they list him at, he's closer to Ndamukong Suh type size, but he's as quick as Aaron Donald. The biggest need for the Lions, in my opinion, is defensive end. But a guy like this, I don't think you can pass up. And like I said earlier, you can move him outside on passing situations, on other situations. He's that versatile and he's that quick. I think he's too good of a talent to pass up. I mean, he's a good person off the field as well as a good player on the field. I think that's something Bob Quinn looks for in a first-round pick. We saw that with Jared Davis over Reuben Foster.
Yeah, great person off the field, great player on the field. I'm all about this guy. I don't care that he plays a position, a defensive tackle, that it appears like the Lions have enough of those. I don't think you can have enough defensive linemen. I think that this defense that they run is fluid enough where you have enough substitution and a rotation, and guys can play inside and outside if necessary. I think you have to keep in mind that Damon Harrison only has 2 years left on his contract. So at some point you got to look to the future there. I think this is a pick for now and a pick for the future because he's a stud.
What's going to help the perception of this pick and why people are going to get on board with this, in my opinion, is because of Aaron Donald. People are going to get on board with this and say, look what happened last time. Don't make this mistake again. And I understand it, and I think it's worth investigating. He was great last night. Of the draftable players, and Trevor Lawrence isn't one of those, he was probably the best.